Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
This is A Different Perspective with Kevin Randle. A retired U.S. Lieutenant Colonel, Kevin Randle has been studying UFOs for nearly 50 years. Kevin has investigated some of the most famous UFO cases in the world and has been consulted for dozens of documentaries about UFOs. Considered one of the leading experts into the Roswell UFO crash of 1947, Kevin has written more than 25 books about UFOs, including the recently published Roswell in the 21st Century. Now, here's the host of A Different Perspective, Kevin Randle.
Welcome to this edition of A Different Perspective, and I'll be joined by Dr. Bruce MACCABBE in just a moment. You know, I spend a lot of time preparing for the programs, reading the author's books, looking at the topics they're willing to discuss and that sort of thing. And what's always happens is about an hour before the program begins, I find something new to talk about. For those of you that don't know, Christopher Mellon was a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, and he apparently said this morning on a Fox program, "We know UFOs exist. There's no longer an issue. The issue is why they are here. Where are they coming from, and what is the technology behind these devices that we are observing?" And this follows reports from 2014, 2015 that Navy pilots were interacting with UFOs on nearly a daily basis. I mean, a lot of sightings going on. Mellon also said there is a vital national security issue, which is that our sovereignty is being violated by vehicles of unknown origin, which is what we have been in the UFO community been saying for literally decades, that there is a national security issue here. And the military, especially the Air Force, says, nah, it's nothing to it. It's just hallucinations and delusions and that sort of thing. I posted on my blog this morning, as a matter of fact, a story about the coming disclosure being the idea the government's going to give up and admitting that what we thought is true is in fact true, that we are being visited by alien creatures. And some of this suggests that the moves are being made and the information is being released that will end this full disclosure. So take a look at my posting on disclosure, which I'll probably have to update now at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. And as I said, I'm going to be joined here by Dr. Bruce MACCABBE. Bruce has spent his early years in Rutland, Vermont, Should put some glasses on here, maybe. After high school, he studied physics at Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Worcester, Massachusetts, a BS in physics, and then at the American University in Washington, D.C., an MS and a PhD in physics. In 1972, he commenced his long career at the Naval Surface Warfare Center. He has worked on optical data processing, generation of underwater sound with lasers, and various aspects of the Strategic Defense Initiative and Ballistic Missile Defense using high-power lasers. Could we have any more complicated words to throw at me here? Bruce has been active in UFO research since the 1960s when he joined NICAP, conducting investigations and research until its demise in 1980. He became a member of MUFON in 1975 and was subsequently appointed to the position of State Director for Maryland, a position he still holds. In 1979, he was instrumental in establishing the Fund for UFO Research and was chairman for the fund for about 13 years. He presently serves on the National Board of the Fund. His UFO research and investigations have included the Kenneth Arnold sighting, the McMinnville, Oregon Trent photos of 1950, the Gemini 11 astronaut photos of September 1966, the New Zealand sightings of December 1978, the Japanese airline JLA 1628 sighting of November 68, and I got to talk to some of the people that were involved in that as well, and numerous other sightings. He has done historical research and is the first to obtain the flying disc file from the FBI. Bruce is the author or co-author of about 36 technical articles and more than 100 UFO articles. He is co-author with Ed Walters of UFOs Are Real, Here's the Proof, which was an Avon book in 1997. He is the author of the UFO FBI Connection, Llewellyn books of May 2000, and he is the author of a novel, Abduction in My Life, in November 2000. He is listed in Who's Who in Technology Today and American Men and Women of Science, and has appeared on many radio, TV shows, and documentaries. He is an accomplished pianist and organist who performed in 1997 and 1999 at the MUFON Symposium. And I mention that simply because I've been getting into keyboard action myself, and I am really, really terrible at it. Well, now that I've used up the entire show reading his introduction, we'll see you next week. No, I'm just kidding here. Dr. Bruce MACCABBE is the author. The latest book, I guess, is 3 Minutes in June, the UFO Sightings That Changed the World, and that is about the Kenneth Arnold sightings. But before we move into that, which I know is an area that Bruce would like to talk about, and unfairly, given his information, this information was just published today, and that is Wednesday, May 29th, and I normally don't put anything in the program that'll pin down the exact date, but I wanted it known that this was information that just came out today, and when the program airs, it'll be a couple of days old. And as I say, I didn't want to ambush Dr. MACCABBE with this, but I wanted your thoughts on what Christopher Mellon said today, if you have any.
Well, yeah, I do have. This whole disclosure phenomenon, I guess you might say, is a sort of been going on drip by drip, 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 drip for the last many years. And when Mellon says, well, flying saucers or UFOs or UAPs or whatever they want to call it are real, this has been known for a long time, but just not admitted by the government. Primarily,
is he the highest? Is he the highest-ranking member of the government to come out and say unequivocally UFOs are real?
Could be. That's a possibility. I haven't checked with all the members of the government, of course, to find out if anybody else has said anything earlier. But anyway, he's acknowledging something that those of us who have studied the subject know has been real all along, you might say, and it's been known to the Navy. The Navy, although you've heard about Project Blue Book and the preceders, Project Silent, Project Grudge, those were run by the Air Force, and sort of the Air Force has carried the ball for the government for the last 70-some years. But the Navy has been in on it as well. The first formerly top secret document that we were able to get a hold of from the a document that actually was top secret, a report made in the fall of 1948 was supposedly written by the Air Force, but has co-author of the Office of Naval Intelligence. So the Air Force Intelligence and Naval Intelligence are working together on this, and they may well have done so because the Navy's been involved since the beginning too, since the first flap of sightings in 1947.
Well, this kind of brings a question to my mind because you worked for the Navy for, I guess, decades. Did you ever run into any UFO-related materials when you were in the Navy, working with the Navy?
Not Navy materials. I mean, I ran into a lot of UFO stuff on the outside, but it had nothing to do with work.
That's a question that's always asked of me because of my association with Air Force intelligence and later Army intelligence. Did you ever run into UFO materials? And the only thing I ever saw, there was something, and you may be familiar with, called the Weekly Intelligence Brief, the WIB. And I remember one story which was unclassified about an airline crew, I think near Japan, that had sighted something strange. And that was my only, I guess you would say, official connection for my position in the Air Force as an intelligence officer with UFOs. So I just wondered if you'd run anything like that at all.
No, I was not in intelligence. The closest that I got to a situation where there might have been some association with UFOs had to do with the development of the so-called Star Wars program, Ballistic Missile Defense, where they were trying to come up with what's called an architecture, a system for shooting down Soviet-launched ballistic missiles. And I've been asked many times, since I was on what was called the Pilot Architecture Program, which was the government's version of an attempt to put together a system, while at the same time 10 companies were running their own programs, everybody trying to get a piece of the pie, you might say, and that was a big pie. Much bigger than 3.14, unless you put a billion after it. Anyway.
A mathematics joke. I think that's the first mathematics joke we've ever had on the program, so congratulations.
Well, anyway, I kept my ears open and my eyes open for any hint of this system being designed to shoot at things coming from the outside. And I never saw anything other than shooting towards the surface of the earth. Weapons, while you'd be having a series of satellites which are up there watching what's going on, 24/7 watchers up in the sky, and they would be turned towards the earth to see if they're seeing any launches of missiles.
Well, I'm going to have to break in here.
All the weapons were designed to shoot down things that were launched from the earth. There wasn't anything that I saw that was related to protecting the earth from things coming from the outside.
Okay, I'm going to have to break in because we're going to have to take our break. As I said, there's going to be more about disclosure, or is more about disclosure on my blog at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. And I will be rejoining Bruce MACCABBE here. We'll be talking about, I think, the Arnold sighting and that sort of thing. His book is 3 Minutes in June, the UFO sightings that changed the world. And his website is BRUMACK, BRUMACK.mysite.com, so you can take a look at things that he has to say about all of this. As I say, we'll be back, and I think we'll be talking about the Arnold sighting and some of the history of UFOs in just a moment, so hang around.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shaman worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
I am here with Dr. Bruce MACCABBE. He of, I guess, great decades of UFO research. The book is 3 Minutes in June, the UFO sightings that changed the world. And those 3 minutes in June, I suspect, are about the Arnold sighting. Is that not correct?
That is correct. Everybody who begins this subject, studying it with an intense study, or even with a let's just see what if there is anything to it type of study, it's going to come up against the Arnold sighting, because it's the first one, and the one which during which time, or the term flying saucers was sort of invented to describe what he would claim he was seeing. But,
well, doesn't flying saucer really, I mean, came out of the idea of the motion of the thing moving across, like a saucer skipping across the pond, as opposed to a shape of the craft?
Yes, that's right. He was using that description of the way these things move, and they zipping from point to point, sort of. And it's sort of amusing and coincidence, you might say, that the world is finding out what the Navy pilots have discovered, that these things move in a very erratic manner. They'll be in one place for a period of time, and then all of a sudden disappear from there and reappear somewhere else. It could be miles away. It's been presented recently, ever since the discussions began of the Navy sightings in December of 2017, with the publication of the Navy sightings in the New York Times. The description that these things, make very erratic movements. And that was observed first by Kenneth Arnold in 1947. Some of the characteristics that he observed of these objects have been reported by the Navy as if they were newly discovered characteristics, but anybody who's studied this field carefully for a number of years has run into a number of cases where erratic movements take place. Come to mind the sightings in New Zealand in December of 1978 that I investigated on the spot, sort of by going to New Zealand and talking to the pilots and so on. And they had radar sightings of objects which would be stationary at one point for maybe a couple of sweeps of the radar, and then the next sweep of the radar is gone, but there's a detected object at some other place that could be miles away, and it's as if it just sort of disappeared from one place and reappeared somewhere else.
Well, let's go back to the Arnold sighting for a moment, because I wanted to get into the New Zealand sightings, and one of the people who had sent in questions for you had asked specifically about that. So we'll get to those. But what bothers me about the Arnold sighting, and I know you've seen the original Air Force file on it, the shape of the object he drew then, and later on he came up with this much more stylized crescent shape with kind of a bat wing type rear to it. Does that bother you, that the shape of the object sort of evolved in that direction or evolved at all?
Well, he initially said they were sort of like a pie pan with a convex rear end, not really a sharp point, but the rear end was sort of like straight, or V shape, and that's what he drew in his very detailed letter to the Air Force. But he says that after he thought about it, well, there were 9 objects that were traveled between him and over near Mount Rainier, and he got a pretty good look at these things as they went by right in front of him, heading south, and he was heading towards the east, so they ran right across his path, you might say. And he said that of the 9 that he counted, 8 of them had this convex V-shaped rear, but one, which was not the first one, but the next to the last one in this line of objects, next to the last one was this semicircular shape with a double concave shape to the rear end. He had the opinion, I guess, that was the lead, the most important ship. He said it seemed strange to him that the leader of the pack would be near the rear end, but that was a judgment call on his part. He said that the next to the last one had this double concave rear end, and all the others were like what he drew for the Air Force.
Well, could his memory have been influenced by his discussions with Brown and what's his name, whose name escapes me, Davis, I guess, from 4th Air Force, when they were talking to him about Maury Island, and it relates to the Rhodes photograph taken in Phoenix in 1947. And apparently, I guess Brown drew what the object looked like in the Rhodes photograph. Could that have influenced him at all?
In the Rhodes photograph, you got a semicircular front with a single concave shape at the rear. I guess at the rear. That happened 2 weeks after Arnold's sighting, which Arnold's description had already been sent to the Air Force. The semicircular with a V shape, convex V shape of the rear. I don't think that his description of the shape of this one object was affected by the others. I think it's just that he noticed that one of them he realized that he had seen that one of them was different from the previous ones. But as I point out in this book, I don't know if you looked at any of the stuff that I sent you, but the thing about the Arnold sighting was he was the right guy at the right time in the right place with the right attitude, as far as I'm concerned, to be the first person to have their sighting report transmitted. His sighting report was taken seriously by his friends, and he himself went to a newspaper to report seeing these things, thinking it was his civilian duty to report what might be the new types of aircraft, probably from the Soviet Union. And so he was doing his duty by reporting. Nobody treated him as an idiot or anything like that for reporting these things. The newspapers picked up on his story in a sort of a straightforward manner, including his opinion that they probably were from the Soviet Union.
Well, that kind of brings up a question from what you said. The chronology would be that he had on a flight landed somewhere and contacted the news media about what he had seen, and then later on when he landed at his home base, he was met by reporters that talked to him about it on the airfield. If I got that chronology right?
Well, he was headed towards Yakima, Washington, when this sighting occurred, and he told his friends when he landed at Yakima he had seen these things that he was astounded he couldn't see any natural shape of an airplane. No control surfaces, no wings, no engine, no exhaust plume or anything like that. They were completely strange as far as shape and the way they flew, sort of zipping from point to point and flipping and flashing in the wind. His description of these things. And he also used the terminology like a saucer skipping on the water. He landed at Yakima, told his buddies there. Then he was going as a business trip to Pendleton, Oregon, which is 100 miles west or whatever. And he had to cross over the mountain chain to get to Pendleton. And when he landed at Pendleton, his story had preceded him, and he was asked about what he had seen.
Well, when you say
he was on a radio program discussing it.
Well, when you say he told his friends, did he contact them by radio while he was still in the air?
No, he didn't. And he explained why he didn't contact them, because he said he had a very weak radio, only good for a couple of miles range. Since he didn't land at big airports where he'd have to call in many miles ahead of time of the landing. So he has his low power transmitter essentially meant that there was no point in him trying to contact anybody right off the bat. He had to wait till he got to Yakima to discuss what was happening, what had happened to him.
Well, it certainly was a different world than you see in aviation today. I know when I was taking fixed wing lessons, we worked out of an airport where didn't really have a control tower, and you had to contact Unicom or whatever it was and tell them where you were and what was going on, and to alert other aircraft that you were in the area. We're going to have to take another break here. In just a moment, I'll be back with Bruce MACCABBE, and when we come back, I've got a couple of questions that people had sent in for us to, I guess, pick his brain and learn what he thinks about some of these cases. And he's actually mentioned a couple of them as we've discussed it here. The blog for me is www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com, and it's brumac.mysite.com, so you can read a lot of papers that he's put together and information that he's gathered over his years of research into the UFO field, and learn a little bit about some of the more obscure cases, things we haven't talked about here. And always take a look at a couple of my books, which would be Roswell in the 21st Century. The latest is Case MJ12, which was an updated version of a book I'd done a number of years ago, and has a lot of new information in it about that. We will be back in just a moment, so please stick around.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, They conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
I am here with Dr. Bruce MACCABBE. In just a moment, we're going to ask him a couple of questions that were sent in by readers to the blog. And I wanted to mention that there are many other fine programs about the paranormal on the XZoo Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. Take a look at those, and I'm sure you'll find something that'll interest you in the world of the paranormal. And don't forget, there is the International UFO Reporting / Research Center, the IUFO-RRC, at www.iuforrc.com, and you can take a look at that site. There's a forum for reporting your sightings if you have one, and the I there is to investigate UFO sightings to gather a proper database rather than just confirming a belief structure. Dr. MACCABBE, when we went away, I promised the listeners that I would get to some of the questions that have been sent to us, sent to me, I guess I should say. And you should be proud because I've gotten the most questions for you from any of the guests that we've had on recently. So people are interested in your opinions on this. I thought the first question is, has Bruce seen any photos that he feels are proof of visitation from elsewhere, or does he have an earthly explanation for all the submitted photos?
Well, I have seen photos, videos, and movies and stuff like that for years, and I've picked out a few which I can't say they came from interplanetary space, but that certainly is a possibility. But the main point is, can they be explained as a conventional craft or whatever? Probably the photo that's been produced most often over the years, the Trent photographs from May of 1950, show a shaped object which clearly is not something made by none of our human type aircraft resembles what the Trent object was. I've studied motion picture film and videos and so on of objects doing things that can't be done by our aircraft. One of which comes from Gulf Breeze, Florida, and shows an object that was hovering while somebody was videotaping it, and all of a sudden it took off and sort of like disappeared. It went from the center of the frame all the way out beyond the edge in five frames. That's 1/6 of a second. And you can see the image itself being affected by this extreme acceleration of the acceleration being noted by how far the object moves from one frame to the next. And this acceleration is a subject of the most recent Navy reports of how quickly these things can move. So I've seen some stuff that I guess videos that you'd say couldn't be duplicated by our aircraft. I would like to say something about the Kenneth Arnold sighting before we leave that.
Okay.
After all these years, I wrote a whole book about that one sighting. although that sighting has been sort of the foundation for the whole subject ever since 1947, nobody had written a book about it. Everybody had noted that it was a single person witness, and the single witness cases are sort of scorned. But I argue in this book that Kenneth Arnold was the right person at the right time with the right attitude to be seeing this, and he was in the right place where he could see these things travel along and measure the time it took with a clock on his dashboard. He had a good view of the whole track of these objects from as they went past Mount Rainier, and then 102 seconds later went past Mount Adams 50 miles to the south, and that calculates out to about 1,700 miles an hour. That was 1,000 miles an hour faster than the fastest jets we had at the time. So I would argue that Kenneth Arnold's sighting ought to be included there. At the very least, you can't say that he was a copycat, and there were other explanations for his sighting that were offered. These are all discussed in the book and shown why none of them made any sense. The official Air Force explanation for Arnold's sighting was a mirage. A mirage has nothing to do with what he was talking about as he described these things flying past him. He came up with a size of about 100 feet, he thought, in size, and essentially made measurements at the time of the sighting, and he was clearly of clear mind. He recalled it well. In the book, I present 4 different recitations by Arnold. The first one being on when he was on a radio station the next day, and then the letter that he wrote to the Air Force, what he wrote in the book The Coming of the Saucers, that was published in 1952, and then his last public appearance in 1978, I think, or 79, when he gave once again his recitation of the sighting. All these 4 descriptions of the sighting are very, very close to the same. So you have the same person giving this description over a period of time of about 20 some years. 30
Well, let me break in here and ask you a question then. Do you discuss the Fred Johnson sighting in your book?
Yes.
Because that would seem to suggest a second witness, even though he wasn't seeing the same things at the same time. It was just minutes later. So doesn't that kind of corroborate Arnold in a fashion?
Arnold said it was at 3 o'clock. And by the way, the title of the book comes from the duration of the sighting. It's about 3 minutes. And from Arnold seeing them when he saw a bright flash far to the left as he's heading eastward. Far to the left for him was north, and these were traveling north to south, and weaving in and out of the mountain peaks, he said. So he had an idea of how far away they were from him, and he was able to time them going from Mount Rainier to Mount Adams. Fred Johnson, the prospector, read about Arnold's sighting in the newspapers and sent a letter to the Air Force describing what he saw. And he said he was on the flank of Mount Adams, on the side of Mount Adams prospecting when these things went over his head, going upwards into the clouds. About the time that Arnold said that they were disappearing near Mount Adams as far as Arnold was concerned, that was the same time that Fred Johnson saw these things going over his head, and he described them as being semicircular with a thing like a tail wave, which is going back and forth like the hand of a clock.
Didn't Johnson also describe some electromagnetic effect?
Yes, he said his compass was wobbling as these things went over, and after they disappeared, his compass resumed its normal compass function. This is a magnetic field effect, presumably, and he thought they were maybe 1,000 feet above his head. It's a huge magnetic field to affect something like a compass over a distance of 1,000 feet.
So Arnold's sighting really isn't standalone. There is a second witness to it.
There were other people too who saw objects in the sky in the same time frame. one guy in Idaho who said, who saw these objects heading to the west, and he said, yeah, Arnold probably saw the same thing a little bit later than this man who was in Idaho.
Who was the guy in Idaho?
I forget the name, but there were several people who claimed they saw things up in the sky.
Was he a newspaper guy?
No.
Okay, good. So I was thinking of somebody else then. Okay, so on the photographic end of it, you said something that I found interesting, and it's kind of a idea I have. You say that the photos don't prove they're extraterrestrial or interplanetary or interstellar, but they represent, I guess, a craft that hasn't been built on Earth yet. But you can't take that leap into extraterrestrial from just the photograph.
I guess the closest to extraterrestrial you'd say would be the Skylab 3 photograph. Skylab was after the moonshots ended, we wanted to put a laboratory up in space where there'd be enough room to do experiments and so on. And Skylab was sent up in 1972, I guess. It was up there for several different crews. Skylab 1 was one crew, Skylab 2 was another crew, Skylab 3 was the third crew, and that was 3 astronauts who were doing experiments of various types in the Skylab. And on the 16th of September, I think it was one of the days in September, one of them happened to look out at one of the windows and see this red object out there, a red dot, and called the attention to the other astronauts. And they looked out, and they all three saw this red thing out there. And one of the guys took pictures of it. And these pictures, you go to my website, you can read the whole article, the whole analysis of this event. There's no explanation for this red thing that was there. And that was clearly out in outer space. It wasn't inside the Earth's atmosphere.
Well, let me break in here because I'm going to have to take the break. And you kind of anticipated one of the questions, which was about the Skylab 3 sightings, and we'll get back to that when we come back to the program here. Once again, the book is 3 Minutes in June. It's the UFO sighting that changed the world, and the website is brumac.mysite.com. Mine is www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com, and we will continue our discussion with, I guess, UFOs and try to get to the rest of these questions in the last segment of the program. So we will be back in just a moment, so please stick around.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
Christopher Fulton is a survivor of the national security state. All he wanted to do was preserve history when he acquired a Cartier watch from the estate of President Kennedy's personal secretary. But that simple act set off a terrible chain reaction. He was pursued by the U.S. Justice Department and the FBI, thrust into the middle of the U.S. government's Assassination Records Review Board, even monitored and pursued by the Russian government. All because that Cartier watch was the missing link of evidence, a timepiece worn by JFK that fateful day in Dallas, a link resulting in Christopher being incarcerated and attacked for 9 years years because he opened a hidden chapter in history. The intriguing journey outlined fully in Christopher Fulton's memoir, The Inheritance, is available now through TrineDay.com or Amazon.com. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination by Christopher and Michelle Fulton is a must-read, an incredible tale of how easily our own government can overrule justice. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination.
I am here with Dr. Bruce MACCABBE. We've been talking about UFOs and Kenneth Arnold and sightings. And when we went away, we were talking about the Skylab 3 sighting. And I guess you said that they saw a red light or a red object from the Skylab?
Yes, and they took 4 pictures of it. 3 of the pictures show a dot. The 4th picture shows a structure. And it's kind of hard to describe this structure, but if you go to my website and look up Skylab 3 by scanning down through all the articles that I've written, you look up Skylab 3 and you can see pictures, copies of the pictures that they took.
Have the skeptics offered any explanation for what the photograph shows?
Oh, well, yeah, yes and no. They try to argue that it might have something to do with light coming through the atmosphere of the Earth being colored. The effect of the atmosphere causing the reddening of the sunset, so to speak, and the reddened sunset illuminating an object that would be what would ordinarily be out there in space. Satellites we make are either silvery, metal, or painted white, and they would argue that some silvery or whitish object was there, satellite of some sort, and illuminated by the sun when the sun is nearly extinguished by the edge of the Earth, so the sunlight is going through the atmosphere and turning red. The red sun bouncing off a silvery piece of metal, for example, might explain it. But the astronauts actually threw that out themselves by timing when this red thing went into the Earth's shadow. After their own satellite went into the Earth's shadow, it was several seconds, 5 or 6 or 7 seconds before this other thing went into the Earth's shadow. And it didn't match up with what you would expect for a satellite, an ordinary satellite. It was something that was not there. Well, shouldn't have been there, I guess, is the best way to describe it. But it's a pretty technical article. You can go and read their testimony about it, what people have said about the sighting.
What are your thoughts on the RB-47 case? This was the I guess a sort of a visual radar sighting that took place back in 1957.
Yeah, that's a very complicated case.
Yeah, that's what as I was talking to you about that, it just suddenly came to me that this is a very complicated case. It breaks down, I guess, into radar sightings and visual sightings.
And also they had electrical intelligence equipment on board the same airplane, and they were getting some signals from it, which suggested that it had, they quote, they, unquote, were able to send us signals that our specially instrumented airplanes could detect as radio signals. In other words, we were detecting radiation from them, from this object. It seemed to be radiating in the microwave band where the electronic intelligence stuff operates.
But the crew did. I know some of the guys were buried down in the I guess the hold or the cargo department of the aircraft, watching radar scopes and things like that. But there was of course, a air crew up there and they had visual sightings that went along with this.
Yes.
Anything spectacular about the visual sightings? Shape of the craft or anything?
I'm not an expert on this particular case.
that was one of the ones that people asked me about, and I've been kind of fascinated with that. And I know that I guess Brad Sparks has done a lot of work on the RB-47 case, so I guess that would be something for someone else to look up. What do you think are the best photographic cases that haven't really been explained, either still or movie videos?
Well, there's the Trent case. Of course, I should point out that almost every photo case has an explanation proposed. That doesn't mean that it makes any sense. For example, in the Trent case, the most recent explanation is that Trent took a truck mirror and hung it from overhead wires, photographed it, took a couple of photographs, and then they invented a story to go along with it. I talked to Mrs. Trent many times in the latter half of the 1970s, and I collected all the information I could from other people who talked to the Trents over the years, starting in 1950 and going up into the 1990s when they died. And they're totally consistent in saying that they had seen this thing in their story about what it was. Nobody who talked to the Trents got the impression that they would be clever enough to think of how to hoax something like this.
Was there anything going on in May of 1950 that would inspire somebody to do a hoax like that? I mean, was there a big wave of sightings going on that was nationally reported, or
nothing in particular?
So it's not like you would see today where people are talking about UFOs and suddenly somebody shows up with pictures and he was inspired to hoax them because of all the sightings that were going on.
Yeah, right. There were continuing sightings from 1947 onwards, but the number of sightings reported in the press was not very great. You get a few articles every now and then. The Air Force knew that there were sightings going on because their Project Sign and Project Grudge were collecting reports, and some civilians were collecting reports, but there was no big flap like it happened in 1947, or it happened again in 1952. And by the way, I have a book out now called The Legacy of 1952, the Year of the UFO, which directly addresses this situation of 1952 having over 1,000 sightings collected by the Air Force. This was a period of time when in the summer of 1952 there were objects appearing for 2 weekends over the national capital.
And it was kind of inspired some of the investigation that went on afterwards, I think. There was an awful lot of sightings. I think there was 1,500 that were collected in 1952, and like 300 of them were unidentified.
That's
and
right.
The Washington Nationals, which you referred to, the radar visual sightings with the air intercepts actually as well, got the interest of the president and the Congress as well. So it's kind of a time of big UFO reports.
A very important event that happened that sort of solidified the policy that the Air Force had towards UFOs, namely that they didn't exist. There were so many sightings that the Air Force figured something had to be done to damp down the interest in the UFOs that was being picked up by newspaper articles all over the place. When a big newspaper has in 3-inch print on the front page hundreds in the area see UFOs, you know something weird is going on. So the Air Force Director General John Samford, who was the Director of Intelligence for the Air Force, to hold a press conference, which he did on July 29th of 1952, he basically said that as far as he was concerned, everything was natural phenomena. The radar detections over the Capitol were a result of bending of radio waves due to temperature gradients in the atmosphere, and there was really no UFOs being picked up by radar. The press was all happy with that. Went away and said that there was an article about UFOs are just hot air, in general.
Well, the interesting thing is I talked to Major Dewey Fournay and Al Chop, both of men who were working with the Pentagon on UFOs, one in the military, one in the civilian side, who were in the radar room on, I guess, July 26th. So I had an opportunity to interview them quite a while ago about their experiences, and it just doesn't match with what General Sanford was saying at his press conference about it being temperature inversions and illusions and all kinds of things like that. Dr. MACCABBE, I am out of time. I have to thank you for taking your time to chat with us here
Thank you
about
for the
UFOs.
invitation.
Your book you wanted me to push was 3 Minutes in June, the UFO Sightings That Changed the World. And we've mentioned the website, and more information can be found at brucemaccabbe.mysite.com. Thank you, Dr. MACCABBE.
Thank you.
Next week, I'm going to be joined by Dan Wright. He has written a book, The CIA and UFOs, and we'll be chatting about what he's learned there and some interesting things like that. I'm going to kind of pursue this statement by, was it Christopher Mullen, or Mellon, whatever the heck his name was, about the them knowing that the UFOs are here, that they're extraterrestrial, that they're a matter of national security and that sort of thing. And I'll post some things to my blog. And we'll have some more information from Dr. MACCABBE up on the website as well, www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. And as I say, as always, if you have questions for Dan Wright about the CIA and UFOs, send them to me in the comments sections from the blogs. I'll pick those up and try to get those answered for you. Unfortunately, I didn't get to all the questions that had been submitted this time because we had a lot of other discussions going on as well. So these things sometimes happen. Once again, my book, my latest book is Case MJ12, about the MJ12 documents. Take a look at Encounters in the Desert, which is about the Socorro sighting, where we again learned that it wasn't a single witness, there were multiple witnesses. And of course, the always present, always valuable Roswell in the 21st century. I will be back in 167 hours with a different perspective, so keep listening.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.